It's the end of the day. I'm soaking wet. My hair is all frizzy. This is the real me. And I have a voice. And I'm going to use it to speak up on behalf of me, my culture, my personality, and my beliefs. I believe in equality for all. I believe in making the world a better place. I believe especially that women should not be discriminated against in a culture that has been stacked against us in some ways. And I believe in my friendship with Tanya as we tell you what's on our minds.
All right,
It's working now?
it is working now. So, the topic is defining Joanna's.
My contribution, aside from being a facilitator and a producer. Now,
So,
Tanya, how do I facilitate and produce
really?
myself?
Like, really? That.
Well, I'm not the only one.
Like,
But no,
really?
you also do it for yourself. So how do I do it for myself?
And that's why we are recording.
And who am I? And in some ways, it's hard for me because I feel like the slot that I easily fall into
Mm-hmm.
is not entirely me. Like I could say, oh, I'm like the shy, well-educated bookworm next to Tanya's like raw, whatever. She's
Really?
I'm
Really?
ethereal and she's the physical or whatever, and I don't think that's true.
So, what
Like
is it?
you're, I am also a physical being, just as you're like a spiritual being and an intellectual being. So the challenge for me is to bring out like the more physical side of it, and it's very easy for me to get up in my head, and
Well,
it's very comfortable there, and it's a nice place to be. So, but I need to be willing to be my authentic self.
but what is that?
And
Like,
my authentic self is someone who gets angry, I mean, this is a bit,
like
yeah. I mean, I do get angry, and I have lived a life where I've experienced things and learned from them, and it hasn't been all like macaroons and iced tea, or
you
whatever
know,
people
because
imagine.
we say bomb bombs on the couch. So I was like, Mecca,
Whatever
what?
it is, like whatever it is that people imagine women like me, snack on.
Well, I think that was a lot of why we had difficulties with the pretty thing.
Right.
I think that's why that was such a challenge for me. Like
Well, that's it.
it was so separate from me, and I didn't know how to identify with why it was such a struggle to be pretty. It's like struggling with being rich. I just couldn't wrap my brain.
Yes,
You know
you were
what I'm
playing
saying?
your
Like I
tiny
couldn't wrap my
violin. You
yeah.
were playing a very sad song on your tiny violin, and yet it is a struggle, and it does resonate with a lot of.
And it did, and but it took me a long time because I was like, "Are you serious right now? Like I cannot." Like, but it grew on me, and I started to get it. But it
Mhm.
took a long time. It took a very long time because
Like
that is not my
right.
narrative as a black woman
Yes.
in America,
Yes.
single black woman
Yes.
in America.
And against that, the narrative of like, well, I'm a really attractive, well-educated, pretty well-off white woman, and I have problems too. Like really kind
Exactly,
of rings
exactly.
hollow.
Exactly. So I took my black ass back somewhere else for a minute. And I told you, I was like, we can't talk about this right now, like for real, because
But I persisted.
yeah, you did, and it won.
Hmm.
Like I came around, and that takes a lot for me to come around. When I'm real. My children will tell you,
Hmm. Yes.
which is why they'll probably end up being lawyers, which I don't want them to be, and lawyers, I'm actually loving all of you because if it weren't for you, my ass would be under the jail because of my attitude. But
It's a hard life, though. If you're a partner in one of those big law firms, they basically own your life. And if you're not a partner in one of those big law firms, it's not that easy to make money.
Yeah,
And it's not that fulfilling.
but they really do.
But
They're
it's a great education.
It's not just an education. What I've come to know, because ironically, I've come to know a lot of you,
I'm not a lawyer.
but I've known a lot.
Hmm. But I know a lot of lawyers.
I know a lot and have had a lot of relationships with them. And what I've come to know, in part, not, everything, but a lot of what drives them is doing good in the world,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and that's their way.
A lot of lawyers are very idealistic.
Right. And so, even though that might not be your way of doing it, when you get at the root of why they do it,
Hmm.
that's where the common goal is. That's what I want to do.
Right.
With On
And
Our Minds.
that is a goal that we have in common, is that we want to do good in the world, and that we are very idealistic. And I am very idealistic, but I'm also aware that I hide that idealism a lot.
Yeah, but unlike, this is why we're recording.
Or I hide that emotion.
But that's why we're recording this, and this is
Mm-hmm.
and that's why, because I'm gonna literally, download it and send it to you, and you figure it out.
Okay.
Because this has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
Like, the reason why my position is so strong is because I've had to live it all my life.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not that I don't live my position. It's that it's a lot easier for me to do it without having to struggle.
Exactly. And that's the point. The point is,
so I have to push myself to struggle.
Well, it's not that you should, wouldn't it be lovely if we didn't struggle with being ourselves? So I don't know so much that, I don't think that it's really that, but
life and society are not set up to encourage us to be ourselves.
It's not. So that's, that's the challenge. It's not, well, JOANNA, put your big girl black panties on and, that's not what I'm saying.
And man up.
Yeah, right. So,
it's a metaphor.
Right. It's not that. I think what it is, in large part, I mean, at least that's my personal goal, because I have been living with it for a long time. My goal for you is what it is for me. It's for you to put a voice to how you really feel about things.
Yes.
In your Yale, New England, London married, teenage boy having, it's like library working, broken ankle being, that is, you need,
I was just rubbing my ankle.
That's your job. You have to figure out what that voice is. And that's not for anybody to decide but you. I just happen to like what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I can vibe with it, but what I know for sure is that I don't have enough money to continue.
Right.
Without really making stuff happen.
Right.
So a lot of times that's why I go left.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you were saying, and that's what you were probably really referring to, you don't have to respond as quickly to life changes as I do. Like, Paul ain't leaving.
Right. Or the things that I feel are urgent are not like next 24 hours urgent.
That's what it is.
Yeah. It's like, I better do this now, or in 6 months or a year I'm going to be in trouble. It's mostly not, I have to do this now or I'll be flat on my ass tomorrow.
That's what it is. And I think I know that's why you feel what you're feeling about the exchange. Mm-hmm. Because that's my everyday.
Mm-hmm.
Like them taking my classes away from me last year. you know. They were like, well, we're going to do this. After I'd been there from 2005 until 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Or trying to erase that it was the new method.
Mm-hmm.
Now, had I not been going through my custody battle, it would have been a different battle. You got to choose your battles. So I did. My family, I chose that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, trust me when I tell you, I'm thinking very differently about this now. Hey, baby.
That is a cat
I know.
who is wandering around and meowing for no particular reason.
That's what they do, boo.
Yes.
So all I'm saying is, it's like, and when I say another battle, I don't mean like I'm not interested. Like I would never do that. Like
Mm-hmm.
what I did with
Mm-hmm.
the boys, but that's why I've slowly been getting myself back together,
Mm-hmm.
so they understand that I very much love, respect my lane
Mm-hmm.
in that company, but they should love and respect what I give to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was being crazy about it,
Mm-hmm.
I would deserve to be like fired.
Right.
But not only have I not been like that, but I've grown in my popularity because of it.
Right. It was kind of inevitable.
It wasn't enough.
All right, it felt inevitable to me. It probably didn't feel inevitable. I mean, it seemed obvious to me that they had made a mistake and that your classes were just going to get super crowded and that was going to be a problem and they were going to have to do something about it.
Well, I love you, but my point to you about what we're really
Yes.
doing, facilitator,
Mm-hmm.
is because that is my everyday grind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very clear about what it is for me.
Right.
And I'm building from that place.
Right. And my tendency is to minimize stuff and, like, my struggle right now is what is going to happen with Tom. And I've clarified a lot of the possibilities and I just want to get it done. And I feel like I don't want to talk about it because, like, what if it goes wrong? I don't want to look back and remember it.
But see, and let me just say, and that's the problem. Just so you know, I'm out loud. That's the problem because my shit is out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows my shit.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm public, last year was not something that I enjoyed.
No.
And their dad did that to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually a blessing. Not just on the level of them knowing that they don't want to be in Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
but personally for me, it outed like all the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And so it
Right.
made
There's
me
a saying in, like, AA or all those anonymous programs, like, you're only as sick as your secrets.
exactly.
So if you don't have any secrets, you're not sick at all.
Hey, oh, hey, oh. I'm sorry. That was a very ratchet moment. But my point,
I'm like, what is she doing?
that was, I just literally went in my head in a dance movement in my head where it went all hip hop and
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Which is not ratchet in and of itself, but what I was doing was a little ratchet. Anyway, so all I'm saying is, yeah, the fact that I was in pain and how it looked and what was going on, and I would have never put that out there like that had he not done that.
Mm-hmm.
But had I not been training for as long as I had been training,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would have fallen apart. completely, which I did. But I mean, I wouldn't have known how to get back up from it. Like, you're like, where am I? What am I? What's my position? I don't know. That's why I was able to kind of pull it together, not quickly, but
Mhm.
how I knew to do that, because I was having to train all of you.
Right.
And I constantly had to think, what's the music? What's the pace? What's the person? What's the thing? What's the what? What you do? Like, it was
Right.
constant.
And for me, the challenge is like I do that. All the stuff that you're talking about, I do that, but I do that for my son and my husband. And
Right.
to a certain extent, and what I need to do is bring that planning or facilitating to the surface for everybody else.
Well, I'm just saying to you, like,
That, I mean, that's how I see it
okay, so
in terms of my voice.
so here's the last 5 minutes, so that you'll have it to, like, listen to yourself do it,
Okay.
right? So, uh, what do you want for people to really get from you?
I want to be able to use my analytic and problem solving abilities to inspire people to analyze and solve their own problems. Like,
Well,
I might think I have the answer and I might have an answer, but I really want to help people find their answer.
that's where we come together. But I'm talking specifically about the fact that when we first started the first conversation, you about lost your mind. I hope you ain't blaming yourself for that dumbass doing the
Oh,
Dear
this
John.
at the beginning
Like,
of that. Yes. Well,
who is that? Because I think that is more
that's the
of,
person who sees the truth and has lived 55 years and had a lot of therapy along the way and who loves you, you know?
and I,
And just because I see that as the truth, like I see it as the truth. I don't,
well, I love you for that, but I'm really trying to get more at you.
at me.
Yeah. Because I want to know what triggered that, because that is probably more of your voice.
Well, I was thinking about it a lot. Like I saw your email I saw the email that you sent yesterday.
Okay.
And I was at work till midnight and I didn't get home till 1. So I had a lot of time to think about it. Like in my, it was kind of like stuck in my brain. I was like sleeping
Why?
or half sleeping
Why?
because I was really trying to think. Well, for me, it's like first I get overwhelmed by other people's emotions. And I think, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't deal with this. And there's a moment of that. And then I start thinking, how can I step away from myself and be helpful, but in a general way, not in a genuine way, not with just platitudes and not with just, oh, everything's going to be good and or God wants you to be better, or, whatever. Not that I think those things are, yeah, not that I think those things are necessarily bad things, but what is it that could genuinely come from me that could be helpful?
Right.
And that is not something that you can just like snatch off the table. Always. Sometimes you have to dig down a little bit and think about where is the thing in me that can help her or help him.
But where's the mad part? Where's that coming from?
Where's the mad part? I'm just mad because this shouldn't be happening to you and because you shouldn't be blaming yourself.
Okay,
And
I'm totally not gonna even take that in, because I'm really trying to get at you, and you like you.
and why am I mad? And then partly it was because like I said, I worked 2 late shifts where I didn't really have that much to do, so I was reading a lot, and I was reading a lot of articles about, the Lena Dunham article I mentioned about, dealing with gynecological diseases And I just thought, and it really resonated with me because I've had to deal with some physical issues, and you start thinking, like, all this time I thought it was me, and it was actually like this other thing. It was whatever. It was
What was the
depression.
other thing? What was the other thing?
Oh, PCOS, and like some hormonal issues.
So,
Stuff that, an actual physical condition that like just made you feel shitty, but you didn't know it was that. So you just internalized it to like, I'm shitty.
and
I
and
feel shitty, so I am shitty. You didn't, you don't, or I didn't, or one doesn't separate the two things.
so, I mean, really, Joanna, I feel like
So I had a lot of leftover anger from that too.
I really feel like that you need to watch this back and hear that in part, not all of it, but in part, a lot of this is, like you legitimize my not being stupid. I
Yeah.
legitimize your anger.
You legitimize that I don't just live on the surface of things.
Right. Well, I mean,
That's what I feel. But yeah,
and
but I get angry.
yeah, and you don't voice it as often as I do because my shit is like that's it. Like I don't have time to go I'll get to it later.
Mm.
That's an advantage in part. I feel like certain, not all white people, but certain white people have. That's my version of you dropping your hanky on the ground and somebody coming up to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Or the fact that their father wants me to be impressed with his situation. And I literally
This situation is not impressive.
well, and I know it to be like this is my point. I know that a lot of this has been that wanting to make me go, you're right. You were right for this not working out. And I finally said to him in one of the emails, I was like, I know you want me to be impressed. I'm so not. I'm sorry. I'm not. Live your life.
Well, you still both want to. Each of you wants to convince the other that you're right.
And this is the thing.
That's what I saw and watched some of what, and
this
it's not going to happen.
No, but this is the thing. I don't need it. But if you're going to talk to me, I'm not going to uncle to you about it.
Right. Yes.
Like I have not talked to you in 6 years because I know we're not going to agree.
Right.
So you talking to me 6 years later is not going to change my mind.
Right.
Or we would still be married. You know what I mean? So, all I want is to make sure that from this point forward that they can go off and do what they need to do from it. Take the best of whatever we had and go off with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only right I need to be. Give them that. Because if you don't, now we're going to have a problem, Catherine. Catherine, I'm talking to you. Because you got everything to do with this. I'm back. Sorry. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying about you having to like look back at this good. So you look back at this because I think really it's really in this. And it's also in some of the other stuff. But I feel like it's more, like I said in the beginning, it's your education and you being the facilitator and wanting to be the person who kind of, brings it together. But the reason why I don't think you feel your voice is truly being heard is because you fall back so much. Because, we, and when I say we, I mean louder girls. I'm not going to say black girls, even though that's what I feel like. We kind of talk over each other. you know, and it's not a diss, like, hey, Bob, like, so you're almost forced to come to your thing, whatever your thing is, you know. And although I don't think that would be productive in the podcast per se, all the time.
Right. But sometimes.
But sometimes. And because the way I teach, like, I can't tell you how many times they have been after me about wearing a mic.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, I'm not wearing a mic. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to stand away from everybody in front of the class and go, you. I'm not doing that.
I don't like classes like that either.
But most classes are conducted that way.
Well, I only go to your classes, so maybe I should branch out.
I'm just saying that I didn't even consciously do that. You know what I mean? Like, I originally didn't do it because I didn't know how to do it. And then quickly I realized that I preferred not having that because it forced me to go to each person throughout the hour and check what's going on. And because it was what I did as a personal trainer, it wasn't like hard for me, and I preferred it because that way I could keep a pulse on it. What's going on with that person? What's going on with that person? What's going on with that person? And that's why, generally speaking, I don't have issues, even though I'm doing like a lot of different things, right? So I think when you look back at this for yourself, that's what you need to think about for yourself, is like how you want to represent yourself. And it's going to continue to grow because that's what's happening with me.
Well, I like to be smart and I like to be funny.
Well,
but I also want to be real and emotional.
That's the part I think you need to get into more.
That's what I need to work on more.
Yeah, because I think that most people, this is why I wanted to do this today, because most people don't want to show that.
Right.
That's why.
And actually, I don't mind showing it. I just don't always know how.
Well, that's the point. You got to work on it, because we wouldn't have movies without people knowing how to get in touch with it, or songs, or podcast, or I mean,
most of culture, much of culture.
You know, it's a willing.
But there's also something to be said for people being willing to throw that through emotion through artifice.
What?
Well, like a song.
Artifice? What?
Artifice through.
This is her Yale coming out. What?
Through craft. Through being able to write a good song, or being able to create a piece of music, because you don't just need raw emotion, you need ability and training.
Okay. That's the definition of artifice, or whatever you just said.
Artifice. Well, artifice can also mean fakeness. But it really means, to me, I'm using it in the sense of craft. Of ability to create something through knowledge and training.
Well, that's the bottom line. So,
not just like spazzing and letting all your emotions out, but channeling, like being an actor.
Well,
like channeling your emotions through your craft, your acting craft.
Okay, well, we're coming on 30 minutes, so I'm hoping that this gives you some insight to you needing to dive in more to, because I'm here to tell you, it's a painful, raw, humiliating, extraordinary ride to be all emotional, which is basically, I think, what's missing for you to really go there. Because I think you kind of see it as, in part, being ratchet, you know.
I don't, and it is also, it's very hard for me to channel emotion through my voice,
Well,
through speech.
well, you need to,
Yes.
because you're not happy about
Yes.
how it's coming off.
I want to be more expressive.
So you got to do it. It's like getting core strength.
I'm going to have to go back into therapy, aren't I?
I think this is therapy. But okay. Yeah, that
It's
too.
therapeutic.
It's therapeutic. But yes, you do. That's why I'm in it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't, you know what I mean? Like, she was like, you're going to have to do something for yourself, Tanya. And I was like, that's why I'm here. I'm doing it for myself. This. I need some place to, like, process. Because I can't do this with my clients or my friends all the time. Every day. Like, come on.
Right.
But it helps. I just know that if I get somebody who's like this on a regular to be like, fuck him, basically. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, damn. Okay, I'm not crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's reassurance. Like, she was like, he's full of shit.
He is.
This was before this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God. If I got you acting like that,
you know it must be true.
I'm just saying. So I'm going, when I put this on YouTube,